Ever struggled to draw realistic interior design space quickly and accurately? In this 3-part tutorial on 1-point perspective, I will show you a step-by-step technique that will help you as an interior designer generate, develop, and communicate your design ideas. Part 1 is all about drawing the interior space. Part 2 is about drawing the objects within that interior space. And part 3 is incorporating your mood board so your 1-point perspectives have atmosphere. Welcome to part 1 of this 1-point perspective tutorial. Part 1 is all about drawing the interior space. The aim here is to outline a step-by-step technique to help interior designers quickly and accurately use 1-point perspectives as a design tool to quickly generate, develop, and communicate their design ideas. My name is Dr. Craig Thomas. I've spent 30 years in the interior design industry as a practitioner and as an educator. I've designed many large-scale prestigious design projects, and I've helped thousands of students over the year develop their interior design skills. I've used many different techniques for 1-point perspectives over the years. I find this particular technique gets me to the thing I love most about interior design, which is actually designing the interior space. 1-point perspective is a drawing technique that simulates 3D space on a 2D surface. It uses a vanishing point to create an illusion of depth that mimics a simplified version of how we see. 1-point perspectives are very useful and valuable drawings to the interior designer. They allow you to look into the interior space from the eye point of the viewer. This allows you to draw all your objects and features within your interior space. Okay, let's get started with part 1, drawing the interior space. This is what you'll need. You'll need a drawing board. You'll need a scale rule and a normal ruler. You will need a set square, rubber, pencil, and a range of kind of graphic ink pens and a couple of sheets of tracing paper or detail paper. Okay, so what we're going to be doing first, on the first piece of tracing paper, we will be drawing the space out using all these different kind of techniques. So we'll draw the space first of all, and then we will draw the objects into that space. So you can demonstrate then all your design ideas in this 1-point perspective. Okay, so the first thing we will do is to set the drawing out. So as you saw before, I've already drawn this out, and we'll be drawing this now step by step. But ultimately, what we'll first do is draw the back wall, basically the wall kind of elevation of our space. So our space is 3 meters by 2.5 meters tall, and it's 3 meters deep. So it's a pretty small space, and we'll use scale 1 to 25. But the first thing we need to do really is to set out where we want to draw this back wall so it all fits on the page. So it's 155 millimeters from the edge of the page, and you can draw a vertical line, and it's 120 millimeters from the bottom of the page, and then you can draw a horizontal line here. So that will kind of help us set the drawing out. So I'm going to do this on a normal ruler, so you know we're not using scale yet. So 155 millimeters over and 120 millimeters up. Now what we can draw is 2 lines, horizontal line on the 120 and a vertical line off the 155. So what that allows us to do now, we can actually start to draw in the rest of our elevation. So we're going to move to scale 1 to 25, which is 25 times smaller than reality. So we're going to use scale ruler, scale 1 to 25, and you can see it goes 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter, etc. So we know our space is 3 meters. We know the height is 2.5. I can get rid of this ruler now. I was only using it because I didn't want you to get confused about the scale ruler. Now we've set it out, we are in 1 to 25. So there is our back wall. So going back to the original drawing that I've already created, now we have created our back wall to our space at scale 1 to 25. So what we can do now, we can put a grid on that back wall, a meter grid. So we go back to our scale 1 to 25. Okay, so there's our back wall. So we've drawn it 3 meters by 2.5 meters. We now have a grid on there, so we know that there's 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, 1 meters, 2 meters and a half. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is to draw what we call our finished floor level. FFL. So finished floor level basically is at the bottom here. So basically if you are standing on a floor, regardless of what it is, if it's concrete, wood, carpet, you will be standing on the finished floor level, FFL. So the next thing we need to do, we need to get our horizon line in. So our horizon line is basically our eye line. So if we come up from that finished floor level, the average height that we tend to use for this eye level is 1.5 meters or 1,500 millimeters up. And then when we have that dot, we can draw a light line through. We can call this our horizontal kind of horizon line, but also we can call it our eye line. Now that's because it comes right through where our eyes are. So that's a really useful thing for us to have, because we now know that our eye level is running through that. So it's 1.5 up. So what we can do, I want to make this really centered. I want my 1 point perspective to be right in the middle of that space. So we see the same amount of wall on the left hand side as we do on the right hand side. So basically we need to put our vanishing point then for that in the center. If we wanted to look more at this side and we move the vanishing point here, then we'd see more here and less on this side. And the opposite, if we did the vanishing point on this side, we'd see more wall going off here and less wall on this side. But I want it to be bang dead center. So there's a couple of ways of how to do that. I can either measure it, so I can use my scale 1 to 25 and I can come across 1.5 meters, or if I kind of drop my scale rule and I don't know what it is, I can do a line from both corners or a line from the center meter with a line up, and I'll come to the same point. So at that point you stick an X, and that is your vanishing point. Very important point, just so that you can see it and you get used to working with kind of, you know, the equipment and doing things freehand and annotating drawings, i.e. putting kind of, you know, numbers and letters on drawings. I will just mark that in there as well, just to remind you, finished floor level 1.5 up, and that gives us the horizon line. We come right the way across, right dead center, creates our vanishing point. So the next thing we need to do, when we've got our vanishing point in, we need, now we've got our two-dimensional back wall in, 3 meters by 2.5. What we need to do now, we need to know our kind of distance out into the space. So the first thing to do from our vanishing point is to draw 4 lines from the corners of our back wall. Okay, so now we can begin to see our 1 point perspective taking shape. I can see now my back wall, I can see my side walls, I can see my floor, and I can see my ceiling. So basically what I need to do now, I need to know how to dimension out from my back wall across my floor and my walls and my ceiling, and that will give me then the whole of my room. So I've got my 3 meters by 2.5 meters, and I know I've got 3 meters out from this back wall, but I don't know how to do that yet. And so there's another measurement that we need to do. We take it from the width of our wall, 3 meters, and we add 25% to that, which will give you 3750 millimeters. And basically then we move that dimension from the edge of our wall 3750 out. So again, on our scale rule, there's 3, 5, 6, 7.5. So we can make that mark on the edge. We can then put an X. It's quite close to the edge of the paper. If it's off the paper, that's also fine. If it's on the drawing board, it's totally fine. I've measured this out, and which is why we did the 155 millimeters out, because I knew it would land on my paper. And this point is called the measuring point. Another very important point. So what we can do next, we can come from our measuring point through the bottom left-hand corner where those 3 lines are intersecting, and draw a line from there through that point until it hits this vanishing point line. And unless you've got a long ruler, you'll have to do it in 2 bits, which is fine. And now you'll see that line, measuring point line, through the bottom left hand corner until it hits this vanishing point. I can now close this off, and now I have my floor. If I draw my line up from that point, I now have the edge of my wall, the other edge of my wall, and the top edge. So now my space is really coming together. So now I can see my floor, my 2 side walls, and my ceiling. And that could be enough, but we need a couple of extra lines to help us know where our meter, 2 meters, we know what our 3 meters is because we've just drawn it. But we need to know where these lines are running through in the same way we've got them on the back wall. So basically what we do on our finished floor level, where our meter grid hits it, we can now draw from the vanishing point through those 2 points on that finished floor level, 2 lines. And now you'll see that there's 2 intersection points from our measuring point line and our 2 vanishing point lines. There's 2 moments where they intersect. If we now draw through those 2 lines, now we have our meter, 2 meter, 3 meter grid. And it's the next step, it really now is to draw up from those 2 points up until they meet the upper vanishing point lines. Like so. And we do the same technique again. So vanishing point through the meter grid where it meets the edge of our back wall. Now we have our meter grid running on our side walls. So now we can work out 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meters, but also 1 meter, 2 meter, and 2.5 meters to the ceiling. So we do the same thing again. So we join up where the horizontal lines meet our 2 vanishing point lines. So what we can do now, we can go from our vanishing point through where our meter grid hits the top of our back wall, where they intersect in those 2 points, from our vanishing point and that completes our whole room. So back wall, two side walls, floor and ceiling fully gridded out. So if you had a rug that was 1 meter to 2 meters from that back wall, and it happened to be a meter squared and it was dead center, so a meter over from this side, a meter from that side, a rug would be drawn in that 1 meter grid. So that's how we kind of draw it. So what we need to do now, this is quite messy. Normally I would draw with a lighter pencil and I would use one sheet of paper, but as I had to draw this quite dark so that you can pick it up and see it really clearly, it's quite difficult to rub this kind of pencil out because it gets extremely messy. So basically what we'll do, I will take a new sheet of tracing paper and line that up, and I will now draw in the lines, and I will basically create this drawing again. Now I won't put all the annotation on it, but you can if you want to put the annotation on it so that you can kind of, you know, revert back to it and go, okay, I realize why I've drawn that and this dimension to help me set it out and that kind of stuff. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to draw the space. So I'm basically going to use two thicknesses of pen here. So a 0.3, which is a little bit thinner than a 0.5. And so I'm going to basically draw the whole thing in a 0.3, and then I'm just going to fatten up some of the outer edges, which you'll see. So everything you'll see being drawn, I'm not going to draw the 0.5 over the 0.3, but I'm just going to draw all the things in 0.3 so you can, and then I'll stop to show you, and then we'll put all the 0.5 in. Okay, so here is my 1 point perspective of my 3 meter by 3 meter by 2.5 high space. So if I bring a piece of paper across and slide it underneath, you will see now that I've lost all my kind of annotation and stuff on there, which is what I want. I just want the kind of clean space in there so I can see exactly where my back wall is, where my floor, where my side walls, and where my kind of ceiling is. It's all completely gridded out, so now that will help me. I've kept my vanishing point in because if I want to draw something out from the distance, then I can do that. So I've lost all my annotation and stuff off my original. This is really useful to me because it can tell me exactly what my dimensions are, how I set it out, you know, how I took my my horizontal kind of horizon line across my eye line across that. But ultimately what I need now is I just need to see the space as it is. Okay, so now we have our space completely drawn out. The next stage really now is to draw our objects into it. So ultimately, you know, we can lay another sheet of paper over the top. We don't necessarily need to draw in all the grid. The grid is there now to kind of help us, and then we can draw in all our objects, whether they're kind of movable objects like tables or fixed objects like sinks, storage, whatever they might be, and our kind of windows and kind of skylight. So that's the next kind of stage, but it all starts with understanding how to draw the space and ultimately knowing where the vanishing point is and how you get to that point from the finished floor level to eye level to this horizon line, and then that dimension from our size, the width of our wall, 3 meters plus 25% to give you the measuring point, which then that line allows you to do the whole kind of grid around the whole space, and that will help us now finish off the interior. Okay, hopefully you enjoyed that.